Julian Assange is a good man. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't know what's happening around the world. Anthony Albanese, you need to stand up for Australian citizens. What you're doing is you're becoming Washington's lapdog. What we want is Julian home. That's what we want. Bring Julian Assange home.
We don't want war. Put your hand up. Anybody out there want to have a war? Come on, let's have a war. Nobody? Can't I find one person that is interested in going to war? No? Not one? What's war good for?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Profits for the warmongers, that's all it's good for. But we're now starting to understand that, in fact, the American warmongering is undermining our national security. It's making us a target. And if they continue to escalate their warmongering to a nuclear exchange, we have many sites on Australian soil that will be targets for nuclear warheads. So we need to get out of this alliance with America. We need to tell America we've had enough of their warmongering, and we're not going to follow them in and destroy country after country after country. This is colonialism gone mad. This is not about creating a free world. This is about consuming a free world. That's what America's doing. It's consuming countries one by one. This is the ultimate consumerism. It treats a country like Iraq as a supply of oil with a bit of sand and a few people in the way. That's the way the American government looks at Iraq. And they're prepared to manufacture excuses to invade that country. And that's what they did. We all know they manufactured an excuse to go to war in Iraq. They told us that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Scott Ritter told us at the time that there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. We knew that, and yet we still send our troops in. Millions of people worldwide protested on the streets and said no war in Iraq, but we still sent our boys into Iraq. Never again. Never again. Thank you.
Julian Assange is a long-time advocate for free speech and for peace.
Thank you.
The Australian Assange campaign has put together the Meet Your MP for Assange. If you're interested in meeting your MP, please come and see me and I'll run you through the process. We've got all the resources to help you in that. And we also have people who can go with you if you don't feel comfortable going alone.
Welcome to the 190th week of Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gatherings. The political persecution of Julian Assange reveals to everyone that the corruption of democracy runs deep. The politically motivated extradition case against Julian shows us all that the UK courts have been corrupted. The silence of the mainstream media reveals they are complicit in the corruption. The UK's Extradition Act plainly prohibits the extradition of anyone for political reasons. Yet the UK is earnestly doing everything it can to facilitate Julian's extradition to the United States of America. The US appears desperate to have Julian extradited because it was Julian who published politically embarrassing evidence of its crimes. Julian has broken no law. He is completely innocent. Revealing the crimes of governments is a protected political act in the United Kingdom. He cannot legally be extradited for publishing evidence that reveals the crimes of those who seek his extradition. The Australian government's action on behalf of Julian remains hearsay. The government's stance that it was engaged in quiet diplomacy has now come to an end, with Penny Wong, the Australian Foreign Minister, recently informing us that after using official diplomatic channels to negotiate for Julian's release, it's not possible for the Australian government to do anything more. There is no evidence that the Albanese government ever did anything to help Julian. But if it did, its quiet diplomacy was a complete and utter failure. The corruption of democracy runs deep within our society. The corruption of government and media has a corrupting effect on our culture, our beliefs, and our communities. We are being socially atomized. We are finding that we are increasingly being forced to depend on a corrupted system, whether we like it or not. It is important for us to realise that ultimately the corruption of democracy does not serve us. Left unchallenged, corruption will lead to total control by those who have no regard for our well-being. We need to come together and help each other. We must resist the encroaching digital tyranny that is fast being inserted into every aspect of our lives. We must support each other. We must unite. There is no issue that is more urgent than defeating the corruption of democracy. We must keep working to bring about unity and to free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Our mate, Julian Assange. There is only one decision.
No extradition!
There is only one decision.
No extradition!
Thank you.
Within the past 12 hours or so, it's been reported that Biden is serious about prisoner journalist Evan Gershowitz. He said that a process is underway to get the Wall Street journalist out of a Russian prison. An exchange is being negotiated. The USA is naturally concerned about their journalist, who has been detained for over 100 days. Meanwhile, Australian journalist Julian Assange has been imprisoned in a high security prison in London for 1,556 days. No journalist should be imprisoned for doing their job, for publishing truthful information in the public interest. But where is the Australian government? Where is the ABC? Where are the free-to-air TV journalists or major newspapers? Albanese has said that he has spoken to the US about Assange, and yet all we hear are crickets. And the US is doubling down on the prosecution of Julian. I ask, if Biden ignores Albanese, is the US truly an ally of Australia? They seem to be acting more like a standover man, more like the mafia than an ally. Our government, Wong, Albanese, Miles, all need to get serious about releasing Julian Assange. They need to act. Australia needs to foster relations in our region. We do not need to be under the boot of the US. The Australian government's job is to serve the interests of the Australian people, not kowtow to foreign nations who do not have our best interests at heart, let alone the interests of Australian journalist Julian Assange. So let's say to the US, no subs, no AUKUS, no giveaways of our resources and minerals, shut down Pine Gap and bring our Julian back. Free Julian Assange.
Yes.
In 2009, WikiLeaks described itself as a multi-jurisdictional organisation to protect internal dissidents, whistleblowers, journalists and bloggers who face legal or other threats related to publishing. Our primary interest is in exposing oppressive regiments in Asia, the former Soviet bloc, Sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East. But we are of assistance to people of all nations who wish to reveal unethical behaviour in their governments. We aim for the maximum political impact. We believe that transparency in government activities leads to reduced corruption, better government and stronger democracies. All governments can benefit from increased scrutiny by the world community as well as their own people. We believe this scrutiny requires information.
He was in a bulletproof box all day in the court.
Australian award-winning journalist Julian Assange is being silenced by the US. Julian Assange is guilty of telling the truth and nothing more. We must stand up for the freedom of the press, free speech and our human rights. Free Julian Assange now. At the moment, the Australian Assange campaign is running the Meet Your MP for Assange, where you can speak to your local MP and discuss the issue of Julian Assange. The United States is responsible for war crimes, destroying countries. Julian Assange brought that to light and has been since punished for telling the truth. Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
I agree.
There's only one decision!
No extradition!
There's only one decision!
No extradition!
Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
Free Assange now! You may have heard this quote before. I would argue that it's the most prominent quote from Julian Assange. If wars can be started by lies, they can be stopped by truth. It is time that we stop submitting to corrupt governments. It is time that we stand up and we demand peace. We demand truth. When you raise your children, do you encourage them to lie to you? Do you encourage them to tell lies? I don't think so. Telling the truth is the only way that we can get anywhere in this world. Anywhere. Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
Inmate!
Our mate! Julian Assange!
There is only one decision!
No extradition!
There is only one decision!
No extradition!
Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
Free! Free!
Julian Assange!
I'll tell you which
Free Assange. Journalism is not a crime. Free Julian Assange. Now. What is the